guys, what's up? It's Emily. Welcome back to my channel. I have a few new subscribers here. So for those of you that don't know me that well, my name is Emily. I'm an actor, I'm a singer, I live in Brooklyn, and I read books. Today, I am doing kind of a new video, at least for me, and I am giving book recommendations based on your zodiac sign. So I have 3 book recommendations. Most of these books I've read this year. They're new, they're fresh. A few I read last year, but yeah, I'm giving 3 recommendations per sign. I'm an Aries, Scorpio moon, Aquarius rising, so watch out. I chose books based on like either the book as a whole like feels like they have qualities of that sign, or like maybe the main character of that book I felt like was that sign. First sign, of course, is Aries. We are the first sign of the zodiac because we rule. Aries is March 21st through April 19th. March 21st is my birthday. I was 2 weeks late. I refused to be a Pisces. Don't get it twisted. Aries is obviously a fire sign. I would say we are bold, ambitious, and loyal. Like we are fiercely loyal and always right. A little aggressive sometimes. 3 books I chose because I think very highly of myself. As an Aries, I chose all 3 of the Sarah J. Maas series. All of the other ones, like I chose just books, but for this, I chose the whole series because I truly do feel like majority, maybe hold for Feyre, of the Sarah J. Maas heroines are Aries, like 100%. If you think of Throne of Glass, like Selena Sardothian, I cannot think of a bigger Aries character in my life. Same thing for Crescent City, Bryce. Feyre's an Aries, she's just like a softer Aries, I think. They're just fearless. They have this fiery loyalty to everyone around them. And there's a lot of like fire elements to those characters without talking about it too much. So yeah, so we have Throne of Glass, we have Crescent City, and we have A Court of Thorns and Roses. Aries, Aries, Aries. Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna get a little bit more specific here. So Taurus is next. We have April 20th through May 20th. Some of my favorite people are Tauruses. My aunt's a Taurus, Cher's a Taurus, Jessica Lange is a Taurus. This is an earth sign. And when I think Taurus, I think they can be very stubborn, but they love nesting. They love being cozy. I chose like 3 cozy books that I can imagine like a Taurus getting snug with. So the first I chose Ready or Not. This is a book that is based in Park Slope, Brooklyn, and it's about this young woman who has a one-night stand and she gets pregnant. The concept of that book is not appealing to me, but the characters of this book, every single character, like the supporting characters, all of the characters, I genuinely love so much. It is such a cozy, cozy, cozy book. I highly recommend it. It's a great fall book. Next, I chose The Rom-Commers, which I also read pretty recently. This is a Catherine Center book. Catherine Center books are all very, very cozy, like The Bodyguard. I chose The Rom-Commers because I recently read this. This is about a young woman who gets an opportunity to take a trip to LA. She's a screenwriter. She's her father's main caregiver, but she gets this opportunity to go to LA, help this super famous screenwriter, also her hero, write this screenplay. And he's just not what she thought he would be. Don't meet your heroes, don't work with your heroes kind of thing. And it's about them maybe perhaps trying to write this screenplay together. And then I chose Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Abby Jimenez's books are so snug and so cozy. It's about this guy and this girl who like they'll go on a date with somebody and then a few months later that person will like find their soulmate and get married. They find each other and they're like, okay, great, we're gonna like pretend to date and trick the universe into thinking that we're actually dating so that we'll cancel like this curse that we have out on each other. Interesting like family dynamics and stuff that go a little bit deeper than the premise of the book, but it is very cozy and it's very snug. Okay, next we have Gemini, which is May 21st through June 20th. Gemini is an air sign. They are spontaneous, they are playful, they're a bit erratic, and very curious people. So I chose books that have characters at the center of them that are like, maybe not all of them are erratic, but they're like spontaneous and they're taking risks with their lives. So I chose The Idea of You first. This was recently made into a movie with Anne Hathaway and Nick Galantine, and my fiance Jean-Luc Quick-Murtry also made an appearance in it. It's about this woman. She's almost 40 years old. I think she turns 40 like at the beginning of the book. She has this like teenage daughter. Maybe she's 12. She's a different age in the book and the movie. She brings her daughter to this meet and greet to meet basically like the equivalent of Harry Styles and like see like the equivalent of One Direction. The Harry Styles adjacent character and the main character, played by Anne Hathaway, in the movie develop a thing. Like they meet and they like are really attracted to each other and they like secretly start dating. It's just so unlike anything this character would do. Like her husband left her for a younger woman. She's kind of like, up until this point, just doing everything she thinks she's supposed to be doing, being a good mom, etc., etc. She decides she's going to take a risk and follow her heart. Next, I did all fours. It's also about this woman who is in her 40s, I believe, and she tells her husband that she's going to take a road trip to go to this like work opportunity, but she ends up skipping that and like stays in town with her, I think, daughter or son. They have a child together, but she doesn't tell her husband this. So like she's just staying in town in this like motel, having an affair with somebody, doing all of these things that are like also uncharacteristic of her. Also a bit of like a character study, as is The Idea of You. Next I chose Sex and Rage for Gemini by Eve Babbitt's. Jacaranda, I hope I said that right. Yeah, she's just kind of this like LA girl wandering around her mental landscape in Los Angeles, but then she goes to New York because she has this like huge opportunity as an author, and she definitely just like moves around her life, not having a plan, totally following the muse. And so yeah, I just feel like all three of these characters are women who go on like spontaneous adventures to take risks and shake up their lives. Whether or not the risks that they take are like morally right, I'm not condoning any of their choices, except for Anne Hathaway's characters. That's fine. But the other two are a little more morally like ambiguous. But yeah, they take risks and they shake up their lives, and I do think that that's a very like Gemini characteristic. I'm scared I hope I'm not offending any Geminis, because the last thing I want is a whole group of Geminis to be coming for me. Next we have Cancer. Cancer is obviously a water sign. They're very intuitive, they're very sensitive, they're very protective, and they're very loyal. I chose some books where the main characters are very, very specifically sensitive characters, but also brave and loyal, despite being put in their various difficult given circumstances. The first is Once Upon a Broken Heart of Angeline Fox. It opens and the man she loves is engaged to marry another person, and she appeals to a fate called the Prince of Hearts and makes a deal with him to get the love of her life back. Then we have The Comeback, which is about this young woman who was a very famous actor. All of a sudden, after the Golden Globes one year, she just kind of disappeared, fell off the face of the earth. I think she went to Anaheim for like a year with her parents, and then she comes back to LA and she tries to like reestablish these relationships. She left the business for a reason, but she comes back. And then I have Powerful. I think her name is Adina. It's like the spin-off of this character who is like also just a super sweet, soft-spoken, like loyal friend of the main character, and you kind of see the first book from her perspective. Yeah, so Cancers, good listeners, good friends, sensitive. I hope those made sense. Next we have Leo. Leo is July 23rd through August 22nd. It's fire sign. They're passionate, they're dramatic. They love the spotlight. They love being the center of attention. They live for it. The first one I chose for Leo is Magnolia Parks. I feel like Magnolia definitely gives Leo energy, although possibly could also be a Virgo. I feel like she is a little too fiery. She's passionate, dramatic, and she loves the spotlight. I also chose The Fury by Alex Michaelides. This is also not one of my favorite books, but it's a murder mystery, and it's like all these thespians on an island, and they all just like need so much attention. Like it really is just like a battle for attention. And then I chose Anger, which is a self-help book about how to like cool your flames, which really could also be an Aries recommendation. Yeah, I feel like Leos can definitely like chill out a little bit. So can Aries. So I just thought it would be a helpful book for the Leos to read. Okay, next we have Virgo, which is August 23rd through September 22nd. It is Virgo season currently, so happy Virgo season to all who celebrate. Virgo is an earth sign. They're known for being logical, practical, systematic, and just like perfectionists. So first I chose The Perfect Couple, which I read recently by, is it Eileen Hildebrand, whatever. You know her. She writes all the books about Nantucket. And I just yesterday, I think, finished the miniseries. It's about a lot of things, but the perfect couple that they describe is, you know, these people that are like presenting this like seemingly perfect life, but everything is not what it seems. They're planning a wedding, and like I think specifically of the character Greer, who is played by Nicole Kidman, she really works hard to present the image of perfection, but obviously is not perfect, and her family dynamics are also not not perfect. I also chose the life-changing magic of tidying up. I can relate to Virgos in this way. I'm a very clear space, clear mind kind of person. I really just like everything to be in its place. I like everything to be clean. The life-changing magic of tidying up is basically just about how like decluttering your life, and it kind of walks through how to do that, will just change your day-to-day life and like your ability to function, essentially. And then next I did lessons in chemistry because I just feel like the main character in that, also forget her name, has traits of being a Virgo. Like the way she does her cooking show, she's very like precise. She's very matter of fact. She's very practical. She's very logical. Next we have Libra. I adore Libras. Jean-Luc is a Libra. My friend Maggie is a Libra. They are all about balance and equilibrium. They take a very long time to make decisions and weigh things. They're like, all right, let's just really take our time thinking this through. So the first book I chose was Good Energy, which is a book about metabolism, how having like a balanced metabolism will give you good energy. It's all about achieving balance inside of your body. I also chose The Courage to be Disliked. Sometimes because of this need to be balanced, Libras have a need to be liked by everyone. It's about learning to accept that no matter what you do, not everyone is going to like you. And that does feel a little bit of an imbalance that somebody that craves balance might want to correct. And then I also chose, these are all nonfiction books, by the way, for Libra. I also chose Dopamine Nation, Finding Balance in the Age of Indulgence. Obviously it's about finding balance, but it specifically talks about like the dopamine seesaw and like the balance of like pleasure and pain. All these books really have a lot to do with balance, which I think is a quality and a value that is very important to Libras. Next I have Scorpio, which I am Scorpio moon. My friend Taylor is a Scorpio. He was born on Halloween, which is like the most Scorpio thing ever. They are October 23rd through November 21st. They are a water sign. They're known for being elusive and mysterious, but they can also sting. Okay. I chose, even though I did A Court of Thorns and Roses, the series, as an Aries, I do think A Court of Silver Flames, Nesta Archeron, I do think Nesta is likely a Scorpio. She is elusive, she is mysterious, and she can sting. I do think Scorpios are also very loyal, I want to say. They're known to be loyal and passionate, but also like don't mess with a Scorpio. Scorpios are witches, you know? I'm gonna do The God of the Woods. It is a murder mystery. It takes place in the woods. I think it takes place during the summer, but it's still giving fall. My friend Taylor, who I mentioned is a Scorpio, recommended it to me. I think really any like kind of mystery book could be argued to be a Scorpio book. The God of the Woods is about this girl who goes missing in this like summer camp that her brother went missing in years ago, was never found. It's very like tangled woven web over like many time periods. You go back and forth between a lot of time periods and a lot of different characters. And then none of this is true. I also picked for Scorpio. You could really argue any murder mystery could be classified under Scorpio. It's about these two women who learn that they are birthday twins, and one of them is like a known like podcaster, and the other woman kind of like proposes this idea to the podcast that this woman kind of creates. She interviews women who have like turned their life around after they turn their life around. So this other woman who she meets, who's her birthday twin, comes to her and she's like, well, I haven't turned my life around yet, but wouldn't it be an interesting idea if like on your podcast you kind of like documented me as I was in the process of like turning my life around. Yeah, there's just a lot of like strange and unsettling things that happen. Somebody does go missing. Next, I have Sagittarius, the last fire sign here. They are born between November 22nd and December 21st. They're known for their quest for knowledge, and they chase adventures. They're like so excited to like do new things, go to new places. I chose Untamed, which I recently read by Glennon Doyle, which is basically about this woman who completely just turns her life around and starts living like very truthfully to her. This like quest for knowledge, she is consistently seeking the truest form of like who she is. It's a story of how each of us can begin to trust ourselves enough to set boundaries, make peace with our bodies, honor our anger and heartbreak, and unleash our truest, wildest instincts so that we become women who can finally look at ourselves and say, there she is. I feel like it's very sad. It's very like, here I am, like I'm ready to go. Let's go. And I feel like Sagittarius is more like, I'm going to take my fire and like put it towards achieving this goal or like going on this adventure. And it's like less about a fight and just more about like following what they actually want to do and less about like who they need to fight to get there. So that's kind of what Untamed felt like for me as I was reading it. It was less about all of you who like won't let me do this. It was just more about like, no, like this is what I want to do. I'm not gonna let anyone stop me, but I'm not gonna like harbor like bad feelings towards people around me either, which is more like an Aries thing. Then I chose Everything I Know About Love by Dahlia Alderton because I think that she's kind of similar. It's like a similar vibe. This was also a memoir. I feel like Dahlia is somebody who also like chases adventures, even if she knows, you know, she might get hurt along the way. It's like life is to be lived. Like, let's go feel the pain and feel all the feelings, but like, let's do it. And then I also chose Divine Arrivals. This is about this girl. She wants this job at this like local paper to cover the war that her brother has just gone to as a soldier, but she's like competing with this kid who's basically like the equivalent of like a trust fund baby, like a nepo baby, to get like the same position at this paper. She wants to learn, she wants to go out to the front lines, like she wants to do all this stuff, and like no one's really gonna stop her. Next is Capricorn from December 22nd to January 19th. Capricorn is Earth. Admittedly, like Capricorn is probably the sign that I know the least about, and like I don't really know a lot of Capricorns. They're known apparently for being responsible, pragmatic, hardworking, kind, and like more serious. So I chose Wild Love. I felt that the main character Rose kind of had these traits. Her circumstances make her fight against those traits. She basically is in this relationship and she needs a break from it, so she moves home to her hometown. She's done life the way that she feels like she's supposed to, but it's like she's not really happy, and so she goes to her hometown for a little break and meets this guy. It's a guy that like she's known for a very long time, since childhood. I feel like her Capricorn qualities are kind of what's gotten her to the place that she's in, and now she's trying to kind of like break the rules a little bit. Next is When in Rome. I also felt like the main character is a Capricorn. She's like a famous singer, but she's very much like pragmatic, very hardworking, kind, also very serious, like takes things seriously. And then also Winter in New York. I feel like the main character also has those traits. All very like hardworking characters that honor work. We're also very kind, responsible. I'm trying to like pretend that I have my head wrapped around like Capricorn traits, but I really don't. So I hope that all made sense. Okay, second to last one here, we have Aquarius, which is January 20th through February 18th. This is an air sign. I'm an Aquarius rising, which means that the first impression of me and like how I first come off to people, like surface level, is like Aquarius. Aquariuses are innovative, progressive, revolutionary, and known for being humanitarian. I chose The Match, which is a book I read recently by Sarah Adams. The lead is basically this young woman who rejects her rich family and her trust fund, lives in a very small, I think, New York apartment. I don't know if it's in New York, I forget. She's epileptic and she works for this nonprofit organization that pairs service dogs with other people with epilepsy. I also chose Pineapple Street because that's another one that really explores the dynamics of the wealth gap. The characters learn some lessons in that and, you know, learn like what's really important in life. And there are also some like humanitarian themes in that book as well. And then I also chose On All Fronts by, I think, Clarissa Ward. This is a memoir. This woman who also comes from like a more wealthy white family, but kind of not rejected it, but was like, I'm gonna put myself out on the front lines and be a journalist and like risk my life to like cover, you know, these atrocities that are happening. And then we have Pisces. I have a lot of Pisces in my life. My mom's a Pisces, my stepdad's a Pisces, my best friend Liam's a Pisces, my sister Amanda's a Pisces. They are February 19th through March 20th. They are a water sign. Pisces are known for being very emotional, intuitive, sensitive, empathetic, just absorbing like everything around them, just taking it all on and all in. I chose first Little Life because I feel like it is the most emotional book I've ever read in my life. I've never cried more. I also chose Good Material. The main character in that was just like so like woe is me, feeling sorry for myself, very emotional, just like could not get past this breakup that happened and like was just living in the emotions of it, kind of dwelling in it. And then I also chose Crying in H Mart because it was another emotional book about this young woman who kind of had to come to terms with her mother's death and like how kind of awful her mother was to her, but also how much she loved her. But it was just very emotional, a lot of like different sides of the emotional experience in that book. I feel like I just said like, I don't know, sometimes I make these videos and I'm like, I just talked at a camera for like 40 minutes and I have no idea if what I said made any sense. Those are some book recommendations based on zodiac signs. And a lot of those, like I said, are books I read this year. Let me know, like, I don't know, if you're into astrology, what sign you are, if you have any other book recommendations based on your zodiac sign. I hope this was fun. I have a reading vlog coming out later this week, which I'm excited about. So I'll be posting that later, so please look out for that. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon.